Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to come and address you here this morning. And I always do find it amusing that I am the member for Cannington, and I've had that observation made previously. I wish to acknowledge that we meet on the traditional lands of the Noongar people, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present. I note their ongoing culture and their contribution to the life of our city. I was interested to note, Will, in your presentation that the last year we've seen an improvement in prices in the resources sector, and that's, of course, the 12 months that I've been Minister for Mines and Petroleum. I don't personally claim credit for it, but it is an interesting coincidence. Western Australia, of course, is a very interesting place from an energy perspective because we are one of the few places in the developed world that we actually have more energy produced off the grid than on the grid, and therefore energy economics and the dynamics that drive decision-making are different in Western Australia to many other parts of the developed world. And obviously, because of that structure of our energy system, renewable energy often makes a good business decision. Of course, when people look at Western Australia's mining industry, what they often see is a quarry, but actually what they should see is a technology play. Western Australia has a successful mining industry because we are an early adopters of new technologies. There are over 300 driverless trucks here in Western Australia. That's the largest group of driverless vehicles anywhere in the world. We have early adoption of big data, of remote sensing. These are all technologies that are applied here in Western Australia by the resource sector. And so it's not a surprise that Western Australian miners are also looking quickly to adopt renewable energy technologies. As mines get deeper and go for lower quality ore, the cost of electricity use is becoming a very important issue. And often a third of a mine's operating cost is just the power to run it. So given that renewable power has already achieved cost parity with fossil fuels, and in some remote locations it's clearly superior, it's not a surprise that many companies are looking to adopt these new technologies. So we can all see the benefits of integrating renewable energies into the mix of resources for sustainable mining. Deloitte have reported that some of the key benefits, which are repeated there, that it's a hedge against future fuel price volatility. Whilst there might be additional upfront costs for building solar and wind, given the high cost of transporting diesel to very remote mine locations, over the operating life of a mine, it's quite easy to see that renewable projects are now often cheaper, and particularly where miners are using third-party generation solutions, there's a real opportunity to take advantage of that to install renewable energy and therefore have a reduced carbon emissions in the resources sector. None of us are fully aware of the impact of the National Energy Guarantee will have on our carbon constraints here in Australia. The federal government has made its specific commitments at Paris to have a 26% reduction in carbon emissions, and it's not clear how the National Energy Guarantee, which doesn't apply to the grid system in Western Australia, will impact on both our grid system but equally on our non-grid energy system here in Western Australia. So it's going to be very important that we watch what impacts the Commonwealth Government's actions in this space will have on our carbon constraints. And therefore it's even an additional reason to start considering how we can apply low carbon technologies to the mining sector to improve our carbon efficiency. So Western Australia really is an ideal location for renewable energy applications. We have all that's needed to be a world leader in renewable energy. We have an abundance of solar, wind and wave resources and a world-class mining technology industry. we've been in the international top 5 as an investment destination for mining and resources for 7 years now. New mines are being developed to incorporate renewable energy in their design and construction, and some existing mines are clearly suitable for retrofitting of renewable energy. And as I say, these mines are often in very remote locations, and if you think about the supply of diesel to an extremely remote mine, it's no wonder that many people say it's the most expensive diesel electricity in the world. If you've got to ship the diesel from Singapore to Fremantle and then truck it from Perth to some very remote desert location, you can see that there are significant cost disadvantages for continuing to use diesel. And if we are able to substitute that fuel for others, and of course there's a balance of payment benefit for using renewable energy by no longer needing to import fuels. So Western Australia also, of course, is ideally suited because we have a lot of our lithium and other battery materials here in Western Australia. I'm going to talk further on this issue later on, because there is some real exciting opportunities in the lithium and battery material space. So we've also have an established R&D sector with strong industry support and collaboration, and we're very strong in the met sector, supporting the resource industry, not just here in Australia but around the world. We are a major source of global mining technologies, and it would be important to, and the Government of Western Australia is very keen to support that continued export of technology and services, and we're certainly looking to see how we can support it into the renewable energy space as well. So Western Australia is a global hub for lithium. We are the world's largest producer of lithium. We also have the largest nickel reserves, the second largest reserves of cobalt, the fourth largest reserves of vanadium and manganese. We've had more than $4 billion invested in the lithium mining and downstream processing just in the last 2 years. We had an 86% increase in lithium spodumene concentrate production from 2016 till now, and sales have reached a record of $678 million, with more than 1,200 people in the sector, and fortunately for me, $60 million of royalties from the sector as well. Talison's Greenbushes mine, which is the world's largest by production, as you know, is already in an expansion phase, and a second expansion has been sanctioned by its owners. The expansion project is expected to be completed in the first quarter of 2019, doubling capacity. I look forward to visiting the Talison mine in the winter recess. And of course, we now have significant investments in the downstream processing sector with the Tianqi lithium hydroxide plant under construction in Kwinana. They are, of course, one of the two partners in the Talison mining. The other partner is the American company Albemarle, and we are hopeful that Albemarle will make an investment decision for a project in Kemerton that will also see perhaps up to 100,000 tonnes of lithium carbonate being produced in Kemerton by 2025. Perhaps in the future we can see up to 1,000 workers on that site, high-paid, high-skilled jobs that will make an incredible difference to the economy in the southwest. And of course, recently WA Lithium announced that they had an offtake agreement with Tesla for the offtake from their proposed lithium hydroxide plant in Kwinana as well, that will be supported by production from the Mount Holland mine. And we've recently been in discussions with Mineral Resources, who are looking to see whether a lithium carbonate or lithium hydroxide plant could be built in Pilbara, and potentially construction starting even this year. So you can see that we are very well placed in the lithium and battery technology metals here in Western Australia, with even Northern Minerals project in rare earths in the Kimberley as well. So the McGowan government wants to take advantage of that incredible opportunity. We want to make sure that all the opportunities that we can create for economic development and jobs are seized here in Western Australia. And so recently the Premier announced that he had created a lithium and energy materials task force to create a strategy to spur investment and encourage job development here in Western Australia. I'm very pleased that the Premier asked me to chair the task force, and we are reviewing Western Australia's competitive advantages to foster that world-leading materials industry. The task force brings together leaders from across government, from the Department of Premier and Cabinet, my department, the Department of Mines, Industry Regulation and Safety, the Department of Jobs, Tourism, Science and Innovation, the Department of Primary Industries and Regional Development, the West Australian Minerals Research Institute, and the WA's Chief Scientist, Peter Clinken. And so the idea is to bring all the elements of government to make sure that we don't allow government to get in the way of private sector investment. The task force will work with a group of industry participants to help us to guide our work, and that includes the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Western Australia, the Australian Manufacturing Workers Union, the Chamber of Minerals and Energy, the Association of Mining and Exploration Companies, just to name a few. And of course we're keenly listening to the needs of the current investors in the sector, and we were very pleased to meet recently with Tesla when they were here in Perth. We'll be working with stakeholders to develop recommendations very quickly so that we can make sure that we're in a position to take advantage of all the opportunities that we have for this sector. I'd just like to let you know that on the 19th of July there will be a public seminar for anybody interested in the industry to make sure that we have the advantage of everybody's ideas in this space, to make sure that we are realistically following the genuine opportunities that we have, because we understand that this is not about mining, it's about processing. It's about taking the strengths that we have in Western Australia as a technology centre and the advantages we have of having all the materials here in the ground in Western Australia and applying them so that we can create a new and ongoing industry. Now, it's not just lithium that Western Australia has in abundance. We're also well placed to supply all the 6 prominent battery materials, and I'll just go through some of those. So graphite, we have about 2 million tonnes of defined graphite resources in 13 projects in Western Australia, 4 of which are looking for commercial closure. The 2 most advanced are Hexagon Resources' Macintosh project in the East Kimberley and Buxton Resources and Montezuma Mining's Yalbra project in the Gascoyne. In nickel, we are a globally significant player in the nickel area with 35 million tonnes of contained metal in 87 deposits. Whilst we only currently have 4 producers, there are a number of mines on care and maintenance. There are plenty of opportunities for Western Australia to expand if the demand continues to increase. And also note the investment by the participants in the industry to improve the quality of the offtake from the refineries, and that BHP are currently investing to improve their refinery in Kwinana, which is already the world's largest refinery, to make it able to provide direct battery materials. In respect of cobalt, we're not the largest producer, that's of course the DRC. Most of the cobalt in Western Australia is produced as a byproduct of nickel. However, we still are the 2nd largest reserves of cobalt and a major producer. And of course we have the very important advantage of being politically stable. And so for those customers who are looking for ethical supply of materials, Western Australia has an advantage in our political stability that allows end users to be confident that they are not damaging their ethical reputation with their end users. In manganese, we've been a producer of manganese for over 50 years. At the moment, the Woody mine in the Pilbara is our only active mine, but as global demand for manganese has doubled over the past decade, we would expect more opportunities for that sector as well. And of course, as demand for lithium-ion batteries increases, we would expect the demand for manganese to increase as well, and we would expect to see further projects coming online. Again, in vanadium, we've got 18 active projects and many important and world-scale opportunities in that area. So we have all the materials that are needed in the battery space, and as demand for these products increases, as the uses of battery storage increases around the world, in motor vehicles and standing energy, there's a genuine opportunity that Western Australia's government is trying to ensure we don't miss out on. Now, I also want to let you know about a few decisions of the government to support innovation in the energy space. The first one is that we've allocated $5.5 million through the Minerals Research Institute of WA to support the bid for the headquarters of the Cooperative Research Centre to be based here in Western Australia. So the Commonwealth Government is currently looking to create a battery and technology metals CRC, Cooperative Research Centre, which is to bring together industry, universities and government to support innovation and research and development in batteries and new energy technologies. We believe that Western Australia is the only sensible location for that CRC, and to show our bona fides, we've put $5.5 million on the table to support the headquartering of that research centre here in Western Australia. And that would allow the development of manufacturing technologies, metals and renewable energy sources, and other ideas around batteries and renewable energy technologies. Having the centre here in Western Australia, in our view, is the only logical decision. If there's ever going to be a battery supply chain created in Australia, it'll be done here in Western Australia because we're the only logical place to do that. So if the federal government wants to support that new innovation, it needs to be here in Western Australia. We've also invested $600,000 in the new mining innovation hub in Kalgoorlie-Boulder. As we know, mines are getting deeper, grades are getting lower, so we need to think about how to extract those mines from those more complicated and more complex locations. And so we're making a genuine contribution to that innovation hub. And clearly renewable energies is going to be part of that, because if you can reduce your energy costs, your mines can go deeper and chase lower grades. And we've also committed $1 million to the Minerals Exploration Cooperative Research Centre, which will be co-located in Perth and Adelaide, and to open just soon on the 1st of July. And I just emphasise again that we see West Australian mining not just as a quarry, we see it as a technology play, and that's why we're very keen to support all opportunities for new technologies in the sector. So, in respect of the broader renewable energy projects, I'm sure that many people in the room are already aware of the range of renewable energy projects that are underway here in Western Australia. So the DeGrussa solar project in Meekatharra is the largest off-grid PV system in the world. Neon, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, is installing 34,000 PVs at DeGrussa's $40 million project to support the Sandfire Resources copper gold mine. The panels are integrated with the mine's 19 megawatt diesel generator and lithium-ion batteries to store up to 1.8 megawatts. The solar power generated has the potential to meet 90% of the mine's daytime electricity needs, and that'll save 5 million litres of diesel a year and considerable amount of carbon. the government has awarded a $3.75 million contract to the UWA to establish a wave energy research centre based at the former Albany Visitor Centre. The building will be a hub for scientific and other multidisciplinary experts to support research on the south coast of Western Australia. The south coast of Western Australia is one of the world's greatest tidal energy resources, and so we're very keen to support research and development to harness that incredible energy. In February, the McGowan government awarded a $6.8 million contract for Western Power's 100% renewable energy powered 5 megawatt microgrid project for Kalbarri. It's one of the most sophisticated microgrids in Australia, and it will improve reliability and prevent unplanned outages in the small town. Now, the small town is quite interesting because it has a large tourist population, so the swing between demand in the off-tourist season, when it's just a fishing village, and the peak tourist season makes it a very difficult town to supply on traditional technology, and that's why it was chosen as the site of this trial. And this joint venture between West Australian company Energy Made Clean and Lendlease is expected to be fully operational by the middle of next year. So to conclude, there's a world boom in battery metals going on now. I hate to use the word boom. It's a once-in-a-generation opportunity for Western Australia, and that's being driven by policy decisions made elsewhere in the world that give a genuine opportunity for Western Australia. Those policy decisions have been made. Now the world is responding to those. So the downstream processing of lithium and other battery materials will strongly increase their export value and could create thousands of highly paid, high-skilled jobs here in Western Australia. We've got an enviable global reputation as a stable investment destination with an open economy and the very, very low sovereign risk. We have the materials in the ground, we have good governance, we have a safe economic environment. These are all genuine opportunities for us. We also have much experience in dealing with technologies and new ideas. We have a good connection between industry and research organisations. And so the McGowan government's committed to the development of the industry to boost our economy here in Western Australia and create a new economic opportunity. And that's what the Lithium Task Force is focused on, and in consultation with industry, we hope to very soon be able to present our investment opportunities around the world. We have all the elements required to produce a battery, but we can't produce a battery like if you set up a battery factory tomorrow, you'd be importing all the components. So what we have to do is make sure that we have all the support the growth of and investment by international investors here in Western Australia, so that we can create more from the metals in the ground that we have today. So it's not just about extracting the resources from the ground, it's about taking advantage of those opportunities that are being created by policy developments around the world, so that Western Australia can be a major player in this important future industry. Thank you all very much for your time this morning.